Hey guys, I've got a review of Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Now this is about a man called Guy Montag and he is a firefighter. But this isn't your usual firefighters that put out fires. These men make fires, and they make fires in particular to burn books, as books are forbidden. And one in particular source of discord in this book is the fact that Guy finds books in his own house. I am proud to say that this is the first non-YA book that I've read that I am absolutely in love with. This is so beautifully written and I felt as though every single page I wanted to read out loud. It was one of those books where the words just flowed off the tip of your tongue. The descriptions were so eloquent and beautiful and the metaphors were so well put together. You kind of felt as though you were reading a piece of poetry rather than a story. The fact that the writing was almost poetic didn't detract from the story. It didn't make the story less understandable. It is such a simple story, but the depth of the meaning behind the story is what makes this book so deep. This was written in the 1950s and it was written about the future. Now, the future in 1950s would be this day and age, and that is what makes it really creepy because it's things that are happening now. It's as if Ray Bradbury was predicting the future and everything that would happen, and that's what makes it scary and makes you think about things and about the way that things are going. Books were forbidden due to the fact that they gave people imagination. They made people think. They made people have freedom of speech, per se, and the government wanted anything but that. They want people to stick to the rules, be blissfully ignorant to everything and slightly naive to everything that's going on. Now, they invented contraptions that made people forget about the real life and the real world. They created things where they could just literally be in their own bubble, and Guy Montag's wife is a prime example of this. When he was telling her facts about things that were going on to do with books and fires, she wanted to act totally unaware of it. She ignored him even and just listened to her headphones or watched the parlour wall TV. She wanted to extract herself from the real life, and this is what was being implemented on every single person in this world. There was a character called Clarice at the book. You met her very early on, and I believe that she is the symbol of the book. She is the symbol of what this whole world's about. She was one of those people that didn't necessarily go against the rules, but wasn't really going with them either. She was known as one of the crazy people in the town, but she was the one that made the most sense. She was secluded in her own world, but in a totally different way to everybody else. She was secluded in her own world within her own thoughts about everything. She wasn't secluded in her own world extracting herself away from everything. She wanted to think about things. She wanted to explore theories of things, and she wanted to live life, basically. She is the character that first made Guy Montag think about what was actually happening in the world, and I believe that she was a strong symbol throughout the book in making people realise what's actually happening and how robotic they're becoming. War was also an underlying theme, as there was a war going on at the same time as all this book fiasco was going on, and everyone seemed to be totally blissfully unaware of what was going on with the actual war, even though there was a threat of a bomb strike. This theme of war showed a slight naivety to priorities, as this government prioritised the burning of books over a war, and that is something that, in my opinion, is relevant today, not in the way of the books, but in the way that people aren't taught it about history anymore. We learn from our mistakes, and our mistakes are written down in history, but if people aren't taught about the history and the mistakes that we made, how are people in the future supposed to learn from those mistakes and make the right decisions? And war is maybe an extreme example, but a good example nonetheless. Guy was the main character, so obviously he developed a lot more than some other additional characters did, in the way that he progressed from being totally for the burning of books until he meets Clarice and starts to think about things and really starts to realise what's actually going on in the world and that there are things that he's missing out on. In a way, it is just a plain curiosity, but that's what leads him on to bigger things. Fahrenheit 451 is one of those books which is hard-hitting, really deeply involved, and makes you think about the world and the world around you and how it's going to change in the future and what we can do to stop it from going down a bad path. It's one of those few books which actually means something to the world, and I'm absolutely in love with it, and I am definitely going to be checking out some more of Ray Bradbury's work, because if it's as beautifully written and with as much impact as this one is, then it's a sure winner for me. But we'll see when I actually eventually come round to reading another one. Have any of you guys read this book? What did you think of it? Are you planning on reading it? Did you love it, hate it? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, that's all from me, and I will speak to you later. Bye! Look what I found on my desk when I got home. Cadbury Cream Egg Splats. If you guys don't have Cadbury's wherever you live, you are missing out.